Hi, it's me, Daphne. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going through all the books I read in July. So let's just jump right into it. The first book I completed in July was Jade War. This is a part of my Being book club. This is the second book in the Greenbone Saga trilogy. And the first book, Jade City, I gave 5 stars. This book I gave 4.5 stars. I still really enjoyed it. I think the writing is absolutely phenomenal. The world building is amazing. It was just very politics heavy in the beginning, like good 65% of the book, which at times just felt like, can we get back to the emotional, personal stuff, which I liked with the characters and all that. But then in that like last 35+% of the book, it was just like so emotional. I cried so hard reading this book. I cried like the hardest I've ever cried in a book in a while, like especially this year. The emotional impact of this book went well beyond the first one, in my opinion. But because the first half, was only like, it was like 3 stars, 3.5 stars. Then the end was like 5 stars. I just gave 4.5 stars. I don't know if that maths, but it feels right. I absolutely loved it. It's got like clan wars. There's a lot of political stuff, but there's just so much depth to these characters that you just can't help but love them and then hate them and just like feel for them and just like loyal to No Peak no matter what. Then for my IRL book club, I suggested we read She Who Became the Sun. I picked this up a very long time ago and it was a 5-star prediction for me, but unfortunately the reading process did not go well for me. I kind of waited too long to read this book because I was prioritizing, reading Jade War. So I got my hands on the audiobook and was listening along while reading with my eyes, like very quickly. I had to read this book in like 48 hours or so. It was just different than what my expectations were. So this is pitched as kind of like a Mulan / Song of Achilles story. And like, it is in a way, but just the storytelling, you don't really connect with our main character. What's her name? Zhu Chongba. She doesn't even have a name in the beginning of the book, which is interesting. Like, I kind of liked that first lead up. So she's just like a young girl and she ends up taking the identity of her brother, Zhu Chongba, and becomes a monk. And because her brother had this huge fate that this fortune teller told him about, she's trying to like live up to this fate. She kind of transforms into like a darker character. Like, you root for her in the beginning, but by the end of it, you're like, are you the villain? Like, she's not very likable. So I ended up giving this 2.5 stars. I could see what the author was trying to do, and the book club enjoyed it. There were a lot of 5 stars from the book club, but for me, it just, I don't know. My expectations were like through the roof, and I just did not connect with the character. I did not like the character, and the way it was written was just very removed. Like, some things that happened were just too easy for the character. Like, there would be like these huge battle scenes that would just happen like really fast and just resolve like in this person's favor, and they were just like moving up the ranks of the military like so easily. It didn't make sense. Like, the logic wasn't fully there. So I need things to be more logical. Then I read The Good Left Undone by Adriana Trigani. Trigani? I think I said that right. Hopefully I didn't totally butcher that. Because that would be awkward, considering I got to meet this author in real life. My mom's book club like won a raffle for this luncheon event this author was hosting in her New York City home, and they invited me to tag along because they know I'm local and they had an extra ticket, and we all read this book as a part of that. This is kind of a World War II book, but not like too much. Like, it's not so focused on the war. It's mainly focused about this Italian woman who is very Catholic, and she's very like feminist and progressive for her time and her community. So she ends up getting banished by the priest to like France, which is cool. And then the war starts happening, and then she moves to Scotland like right before it to work as a nurse, because she's a nurse. And it's her story about falling in love and the struggles of her life. And it also kind of jumps back and forth in time with this character's family like into the future. So her daughter as like an older woman, and that older woman telling her grandchildren these stories about her mother, and just like how important it is to tell these family stories and to have your stories remembered and all that sentimental stuff. So I gave this 3.5 to 4 stars because the additional aspect of getting to meet the author and talk to her and just see her passion about books and writing and the industry and like what she does for other authors, which is like so cool. That was such a really interesting experience, and I'm glad I was invited to tag along. I have more on it on my Instagram. I posted it to my feed. And her house is stunning. She's like in a brownstone, and she's got like books everywhere, and just like it's just like the table setup and everything. It's just like goals. I loved it. Minus the fact that the brownstone doesn't have central air. But like in theory, I love it, you know? The next book I read was The Gargoyles Captive by Katie Robert. So this is the 3rd book, I believe, even though I think I might have the order of these books mixed up, because apparently there was another book that came out that I didn't know. So I don't know if it's the 3rd book, but we'll say it's the 3rd book I read in the Deal with the Demon series. So for this one, our heroine is a human, and she knows about like the monster realm or whatever. She's like a monster hunter. She's like from a monster hunter family and all this stuff. And her mother has gone missing, and she knows her mom made like a deal with the demon, and she's somewhere in the monster realm. So she wants to try to find her mother. So she decides to make her own deal with the demon to like get through the portal to be in this other realm, right? So her deal with the demon is that she's gonna get paired up with this gargoyle guy. He needs an heir, and he gets the chance to seduce her for like the next 7 years or whatever. And it's their romance and them getting to know each other, and her just being like not what he expects. There's also this interesting dynamic between the two of them and the dominance they want to have over each other. So she kind of is the more dominant one in the bedroom, which is fun, especially because he's like this big gargoyle monster guy. And it's short, so I ended up giving it 4 stars because it delivered what I expected. Just like a fun, silly, monster, steamy time from Katie Robert. So the next 3 books I got during the Stuff Your Kindle day. The first one I'll talk about is Baby Wanted by Roxy Wilson. This is a POC author with a biracial couple. So our heroine is like 35, and she's really looking to have a baby, but she doesn't have a serious relationship with anyone. She's had like crappy boyfriends in the past. So she goes to her best friend and asks him to be her baby daddy. This best friend has been pining for her for years, so he says he'll agree to be her baby daddy if she agrees to be married to him for 1 year. He makes the excuse that it's like for work, but really he just wants time to try to convince her to stay married to him because he's in love with her. And the premise of this book is super, super good. Unfortunately, the writing I just did not connect with. Like even the smutty scenes, like I was just like not vibing with it. I don't know. It was just like not written up to the standard that I'm used to, with just like, I don't know, it just like wasn't connecting. I couldn't connect to the characters very well. That was disappointing because the premise is super, super cute, and I really wanted to feel the pining and everything, but it just did not emotionally connect with me because of the writing style, unfortunately. So I ended up giving this 2.5 stars, but I got it for free and I wanted to give it a chance. This is like a part of a series, a companion series, I believe. So if you still want to give it a chance, definitely check it out because there's more books along this like baby world. I think the series is called, the series is called Bundle of Joy. So I imagine they're all baby related. So if you're in the mood for some short, smutty baby romances, you could check out Roxy Wilson's stories. I did another free Stuff Your Kindle Day book, which was Power Play by Marie Carr. So I was going in with lower, kind of like no expectations since I just read the Baby Wanted book. But surprisingly, this book was really, really good. I thought the writing was super good. And I mean, considering expectations, it's not like the best work of fiction or whatever, but based on like where my expectations were, I felt like there was a lot of emotional depth to the characters. So the premise of this, it's like an office workplace romance, but it starts out where the heroine is just chilling in the bar. It's like her birthday and she wants to treat herself with like a one-night stand, and she sees this hot guy and she's like, let's go out to the back and take care of my needs. You know what I mean? So they have like this amazing night together, and then she shows up to her new job and he's there. So they're both at the same level in this like marketing company. So they're equals, right? She's not a secretary, okay? And she's used to just getting what she wants. She's very like dominant. She's a very dominant personality, but so is he. So they kind of butt heads professionally, and they also butt heads sexually because they both want to like dominate each other. And they make this bargain where if they win the best like campaign for these clients that they have lined up, they get to determine what kind of fun, sexy time they're gonna have next. And it was just really fun, and they slowly drop down their walls, and they like, you know, they're like conceding to what the other person wants, which is new for them and stuff. And yeah, I was very impressed with this short little story, and I would recommend it if you're looking for a quick office romance with some like dom stuff, but not like too intense, not like leather straps, not like that, you know, just your typical like, you're gonna do what I say, I'm on top kind of vibes. So for July, the last Stuff Your Kindle book I ended up reading was Her Wild Roommate by Adele Knight. This one was all right. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's good because it's got that pining aspect. So our hero and heroine are roommates together. They've known each other since like childhood. They're best of friends. The heroine is more of like jumping from relationship to relationship. Like she's like a monogamous, like dating for a relationship type of girl, whereas the guy seems to be more just casual hookups, whatever. So she's never wanted to cross that line with him. She's like, he's not interested in me. He's never looking for a relationship, but she's having issues with her current boyfriend because he's literally not satisfying her physical sexual needs, and she's a little fed up. So she's trying to like find that spark. Her boyfriend's like returning back to the city from like a business trip or whatever. So she invites him over, and she's like trying to like, you know, be sexy in the living room for him because she thinks her roommate's out. But it turns out he's home and he sees what she's doing, and it evolves from there. And I can't tell you too much because it's very short, but like there's a lot of pining going on, and who doesn't love pining? That's all I'm gonna tell you about that because the book is really short. And then the last book I read was A Ship of Bones and Teeth by Karina Halley. This is a dark Little Mermaid retelling, and I really enjoyed aspects of this book, but overall I felt like it was way too long. There were things that were added to the plot about some of our key characters that genuinely surprised me and made it more interesting for me to read. But the ending just felt like it had 4 epilogues. Like there was just so much plot like thrown in that it just felt like the author was like, oh, I gotta wrap all these things up, and she like did it chapter by chapter. So it was a little awkward. But overall, I thought the world was interesting. I thought the mythical creatures were interesting. I thought our heroine was pretty strong-willed for the most part. And I thought our hero was complicated and dark for sure. If this book had been like pared down a little bit and got to the point a little bit faster, I think I would have enjoyed it more, but there was just like too much other plot going up that just, I don't know. Like it made sense at the time, but the way it wrapped up was just kind of like, okay, I'm exhausted from reading this book. It's so long. This book is almost 500 pages long, and I don't think it needed to be that long. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. I would still recommend it if you're interested in a Little Mermaid retelling, but just know it's gonna be a marathon. I think you'll enjoy it still. I think you'll be surprised by certain things. I think you'll enjoy the dark aspects. Like it's quite violent. Our heroine is quite violent herself. Like she's just not a victim or anything. She's like a monster, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't think that's a spoiler because she's like a mermaid, but she's really a siren. And sirens are monstrous. Like they eat men's hearts, you know what I mean? They're like that. So she has that aspect inside of her. So yeah, enjoyed for the most part, but like wasn't in love with it. All right, so that's it for all the books I read in July. I hope you enjoyed listening to me chat a little bit about them. If you did, please feel free to leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already. I'd greatly appreciate it, and obviously it helps out my channel. If you want to spend a little bit more time with me, you can find me on Instagram at being.daphne. But that's all I have for today, and I will catch you in another video. Bye!